For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chandi, and I'm Lalu's big sister. I was 12 years old when he was born, and I have to admit that I wasn't very happy about it, because his arrival meant that I would lose my only child status. However, it wasn't long before he became my little buddy. It was him and I walking through the small alleys of Varanasi, India, where we lived at the time. We did a lot together, and I thought of myself as a pretty good babysitter. I mean, I may have dropped him on his head once or twice, trying to get up the steep, narrow staircase of our house, but all in all, no harm was done. When he got a little older and learned to talk, he loved to shout at the people walking in the alley below us. Now you have to understand that our house was right across from the most famous golden temple in India, with thousands of visitors every year. So Lalu always had a big audience. He would proudly stand at the open window grate and shout profanities in Hindi at everyone walking by, while I laughed and egged him on. My all-time favorite, though, was when he would yell out, "Papa Jandu, Mummy Murke," which in English means, "My dad is useless and my mom's a fool." I have no idea who taught him that, but I'm sure it wasn't me. Growing up, I always thought Lalu was invincible. From getting so sick that he had to be airlifted to the hospital, to getting hit by a car, rolling over the hood, being launched 10 yards, he was always falling, crashing, or bleeding, but no matter what, he always got right back up. He was tough as nails. Later, he went on to teach our younger brothers, G and Rishabh, how to fight. And together with the neighborhood boys in Twin Lakes, they started probably the first middle school fight club, which mostly consisted of meeting up at the elementary school down the street and seeing how many boys it would take to take Lou down. And it took a lot. Not only was he a tough kid, but he also had a way with words. He was the guy who could talk a starving dog off a meat truck. He could pretty much talk Kevin and I into anything, and it always sounded like such a good idea until we were actually in the midst of doing it. Like the time he talked us into taking him, G and Rishabh to the movie theater to see Booty Call. Kevin and I had no idea what we were in for until right before the movie started, and we looked around and realized that it was only adults in the theater. And then there was me and Kevin with a 10, 9, and 7-year-old. In our defense, it was the 90s, and there was no such thing as Googling reviews or watching trailers online. And plus, the term booty call wasn't even a thing until after the movie came out. As Lalu got older and Tyler and Shay were born, he was the absolute best uncle and would come over to the house to babysit when needed, or just come over and hang out with us. He loved them so much. When they started playing sports, he was always there to proudly cheer them on. When Tyler started playing for the Raptors football team, he became the team's announcer, and he really had a special gift for that. He not only announced Tyler's football games, but also announced for all the other age groups as well. Every Saturday, he was there to entertain the crowd, and he always had an encouraging word for the players. When Tyler started high school, Lalu became the voice of Sumner boys lacrosse games. Sumner was the envy of every other school because our announcer was so incredibly funny and kept all of the fans from every team very entertained. After the games, we would always hear from the parents of the opposing team, and they would tell us how much they loved his announcing. Lalu always had such a huge heart and gave a lot for the kids. You would always find him on the sidelines, or at one of our family functions, or over at Blake and Lydia's playing with Carson, or running alongside Braden as he ran the track, or watching him play baseball. He also became a mentor for our nephew Trayvon as he attended Military Boot Camp Academy. He loved Trayvon and was so proud that he enrolled himself into the boot camp program. He sure bragged about all the kids and told everyone about their funny stories and successes. and they sure loved him right back. I think one of the reasons kids loved him so much is because they know a genuine heart when they see one. Lalu also loved to travel, and we were really fortunate to have him alongside us with most of our vacations. He had a way of making everything more fun. I mean, vacations are fun and all, but having Lou there made it fun times 10. One of his all-time favorite things to do on vacation, or anywhere actually, was to find a way to embarrass Tyler. This became an actual sport for him. But then again, Tyler being a teenager, I guess it didn't take a whole lot. Lalu would do anything he could get away with, including photobombing Tyler and his friends after a football game, dressed in full Spartan gear, giant sword included, to boarding an airplane right behind Tyler and shouting as loud as he can, "Woo, doggy!" to a silent and stunned crowd. Tyler had nowhere to run. Then there was one of my favorites. The 5 of us arriving at a teeny tiny airport in the middle of nowhere in Trenton, New Jersey. Tyler had already said we were probably going to die just by the sheer size of the airport. Then as we gathered our luggage to get ready to enter the departures area, Lou pulls out a sheet from his suitcase, tied it around his head, and said, "Hey T, I'm ready. How do I look? You think they're going to want to check me?" Tyler stared, eyes wide with horror, as he envisioned his uncle walking into the airport looking like a terrorist. Tyler took one look, shook his head, and walked as fast as he could in the other direction. Lou got him. Shay, on the other hand, was his little bug, or Shaybug, or Bugaboo, or any other variation of a bug name. He always tried to get her out of her shell and do crazy things with him, like jumping into a freezing lake, aka the polar plunge, pet a baby alligator, or go on crazy rides with him. Usually he could talk her into most things, but when she was too terrified to try them, he would make sure to find something for her to do that would make her happy, even if it meant riding on the little kiddie roller coasters. And when he did, he acted like it was the coolest thing ever, throwing his hands up in the air and yelling some more, "Woo, joggies!" This coming 4th of July is going to be a tough one without him, because it was by far his favorite holiday. From shooting off bottle rockets in the Ording cul-de-sac as a kid, to becoming our official pyrotechnic up at Lake Tapps, he loved the 4th.
Dave's gonna do it?
Where's your phone?
You
Let me
got
film
a
it.
Look at that over there, Dave.
Kill me, yeah!
Come on, Dave.
Come on, Dave!
Oh, no. Redip that.
Tyler, give me a tip.
I know about hot sauce.
Stick more than that on there. What is that?
Hang on, wait, that isn't enough.
Let me see how much.
Give
Give
Tyler
me-
a good
I
amount,
just
right?
ate Wake's chicken wing and gave up, so.
That's plenty. Trust me.
So I'm gonna get a whole gallon of
No,
milk.
I ate one of the chicken
Yeah,
wings and was down.
I need some ice cream on standby. Nothing to drink. Nothing to drink.
We got
for 5
this
minutes.
He wants one.
Nothing.
Ready?
I do if I knew what was in store for me.
Nothing. Come on, boys. We're happy 4th of July.
He loved having everyone together, all the amazing food, the yard games, the swimming, but most of all the fireworks. Most years went off without a hitch, but every now and then there was a little hiccup. Like last year, for example. But hey, no one was hurt, and so we still call it a success. Lalu's motto for life was go big or go home, and everything he did was extreme. They say those who constantly cheat death are living life to the fullest. I don't know. Perhaps it's the lack of fear that opens up one's world and allows them to take risks that might constrain us less adventurous people. Lalu did live a full life, despite his early departure. He loved and embraced everyone around him with that huge smile and twinkling eyes, that fearless heart, and one big, giant, woo doggy. For those of us who knew him, who loved him, who got angry with him, who stood in awe of him, we'll miss that boy and the man he turned out to be. We'll miss the loyal soul who you knew always had your back. to be there to give you thoughtful words of encouragement, and who you could always count on to be the first to arrive in any scary situation. We'll miss the friend who was always quick with a funny line, who was always eager to go off on another adventure, who fought with us and who loved us with equal passion. We'll miss the brother, the son, the boy who tested his limits, who brought home friends that needed help, and who befriended and defended the neighborhood kids. We'll mourn the man who's gone, whom we've lost so tragically, but we'll remember him, and remember that above all, he would want us to remember him as he lived, on the edge of the water that he loved so much, and on the edge of what was possible. Deep down, Lalu was just a big-hearted kid who lived every moment to its fullest, made the most out of every situation he was in, gave every bit of his heart, always made sure everyone else was taken care of and having fun, and most of all, making sure we all felt loved. He loved it most when the people around him were laughing and having a good time, especially when it was gathered around a great meal. So when you're gathered around friends and family, and laughing and enjoying a great meal, think of Lalu, and he will be there with you in that moment. We miss you, Lalu, and will continue to do so every single day. And there will always be a place at the table set just for you.